If you can't handle this truth, you're exactly who needs to hear it. The blueprint they handed you was never designed to make you dangerous, sovereign, or free. It was designed to keep you busy, obedient, and too exhausted to question why your life feels borrowed. You call it a plan because admitting you followed a leash would break your pride. You were told to study hard, stay agreeable, collect credentials, ask permission, make yourself presentable, and wait for your turn. That script sounds respectable because it produces men who comply without resistance. Society does not reward strength first. It rewards predictability. A man who thinks for himself is difficult to manage, and difficult men are bad for systems built on obedience. So you built your life like a house on rented land. Every major decision was filtered through approval, image, and fear of exclusion. You did not ask what was true. You asked what would be accepted. That is how a man becomes polished on the outside and hollow underneath. Seneca warned that the crowd is the quickest path to corruption, and you still keep checking whether the crowd approves of your direction. The price has already been taken, not later, already. The years you spent becoming acceptable could have been spent becoming capable. You memorized rules. Instead of building strength, you built a persona. Instead of commanding your time, you sold your hours for symbols. And now you wonder why respect feels distant, even when your life looks correct on paper. Look closely at what the blueprint stole. It stole your mornings, because your first thought became obligation instead of purpose. It stole your spine, because every compromise taught you to kneel a little faster. It stole your edge, because comfort made you soft, while telling you that softness was balance. It stole your name, because eventually you became a role, not a man. Most men never admit this. They defend the cage because they decorated it themselves. They post the uniform, the apartment, the routines, the curated image of progress. But inside, they know, and call that proof. It is not proof. It is camouflage. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." You are not master of yourself if your choices are shaped by fear of judgment, fear of risk, and hunger for validation. The strongest men understood something early, or they learned it the hard way after life crushed them. The approved path is crowded because it asks almost nothing of the soul. It gives instructions, deadlines, and acceptable goals. It removes the burden of thinking. Weak men love that. They would rather inherit a script than face the terror of writing one. But a man who lives by another man's map dies in borrowed territory. A lone wolf is not a social costume. It is not some cheap posture for men who cannot cooperate. It is the discipline to stand apart when the herd runs toward the cliff. It is the ability to endure silence, uncertainty, and delayed reward without panicking and crawling back to consensus. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire and still wrote like a man at war with his own weakness. That is the standard. Rule yourself before you speak of ruling anything else. The code starts with subtraction. Remove the noise that keeps your mind rented out. Fewer opinions, fewer distractions, fewer indulgences disguised as rewards. If a habit makes you easier to control, it must go. Cut it. If an environment lowers your standards, leave it. If a person profits from your confusion, create distance. You do not negotiate with decay. Then build weight-bearing habits. Wake before your excuses organize themselves. Train until your body stops bargaining. Work in blocks that demand attention, not performance theater. Keep your word in private first. Read what hardens judgment. Write what exposes self-deception. Spend time alone without anesthetic. A man who cannot sit in silence without reaching for stimulation has no inner command. Detach from the bait they used to steer you. Status, applause, belonging, convenience, immediate pleasure. These are levers, and most men are pulled by all of them at once. The Stoics treated desire like a battlefield because they understood a simple fact. Whatever you need can be used against you. Reduce your needs and you reduce your chains. Endure more, want less, and suddenly the world loses its grip on your throat. You also need a new definition of success, one that cannot be bought, borrowed, or displayed. Success is not looking established. It is being ungovernable by weakness. It is the ability to choose the harder right over the easier wrong without drama. It is competence under pressure. It is restraint when indulgence is available. It is precision when others are sloppy. It is the calm of a man who no longer requires spectators. Do not mistake isolation for punishment. It is a forge. In isolation, you hear your own thoughts without contamination. In isolation, your excuses stop performing for an audience and expose themselves as cowardice. In isolation, you discover whether your discipline is real or merely social. The world respects men who can stand alone because most cannot last 5 minutes without reaching for some form of permission. And understand this clearly. There is no final rescue waiting for you. No mentor can hand you a backbone. No system will refund the years you wasted. No revelation will do the repetitions for you. There is only the next decision, then the next, then the next, until your habits either harden into a code or collapse into another round of excuses. Character is not announced, it is accumulated. The blueprint they gave you leads nowhere, because nowhere was the point. A man with no inner law is easy to place, easy to sell to, easy to frighten, easy to replace. If that offends you, good. Offense is often the bruise left by truth. The question is not whether the lie exists. The question is whether you have the discipline to stop kneeling to it when kneeling has become your normal posture. In the end, reality does not care what you were promised. It only reveals what you built. If your life was assembled from approval, convenience, and imitation, it will fail when pressure arrives. If it was built from discipline, detachment, endurance, and truth, it will stand without witnesses. That is the split. One path produces managed men, the other produces men who can carry their own weight in a cold world.